So, in response to the Atlantic's article, which alleged that Trump got very angry about the funeral cost of the Mexican soldier who was tragically killed in 2020, and of course his wishes for Hitler's generals, CNN had a little panel discussion here. So here is CNN panelist Ryan James Gerdusky taking on the rest of them. He performs pretty well here. Look at this conversation.
There are a number of voters. I have a feeling that there are a number of voters who are hearing so many things about Trump. They're hearing the claims, they're hearing the statements, they're hearing about members of the cabinet saying no can do, no will do again. And then you hear Trump's campaign saying this is false. President Trump never said any of this. I mean, Trump, though, tonight praised authoritarian leaders, China's Xi, Russia's Putin. Listen to this.
Can you imagine what President Xi, I got to know him very well. He's a fierce individual. He runs 1.4 billion people with an iron fist. Am I allowed to say he's smart? He's smart. He's a smart man. He's a fierce man. I got along with him very well. Putin, these are people that are tough people.
He's a fierce man. Not as well endowed as Arnold Palmer, but a fierce man nonetheless. No, look. Okay, so first of all, just look at the absurdity of that formulation. The article says he wants Hitler's generals. He denies that he said that. But here he is praising authoritarian leaders. Like, look at the leap. Look at the leap from one point to the next. It's fucking absurd. It's fucking absurd.
And he's really not praising him. He's giving an honest assessment of his skills.
Well, this is what they really hate.
And if you say anything that's not antagonistic about a competitor or an adversary, you're a traitor. Nixon went to China, baby.
Of course.
You don't reconcile with your friends.
Well, Trump knew that. Trump knew he was going to get shit for it. That's why he says, am I allowed to say he's smart?
Right.
Like, this is the kind of diplomacy that Trump tries to engage with people like Putin and Xi and Kim Jong-un. Like, can we respect them as autonomous actors?
Right.
With agency and legitimate standing in the world. That's how he sees them. Now, he's not necessarily dovish towards them. Don't forget, Trump armed Ukraine before Biden armed Ukraine, right? But he views them as agents to be negotiated with, whereas we see everyone outside of NATO and the G7 as bugs to be squashed, basically. And he doesn't view them that way, and that is his great crime against the West that the deep state cannot forgive him for. So when he says Xi is smart, Putin is smart, what he's saying is they are formidable adversaries, and we have to negotiate with them because we don't want the alternative, which is nuclear war, and that freaks them out. And listen how she goes on here, setting this up.
I mean, many people have an issue with appraising of any kind of either of these two leaders. Does the fact that he appears to have a strong affinity for those who are authoritarians in the leadership, is that deniable at this point?
Well, in the clip you showed, he didn't.
Oh my God! My God, where's my Rappaport sound drop for that? I mean, that is just an incredible question. Incredible question, given that your president, Joe Biden, has been seen on camera multiple times literally embracing Benjamin Netanyahu as he commits the greatest crime against humanity of our lifetimes. Oh, well, people don't like that he has this affinity for strongmen dictators. Who the fuck is Netanyahu, you fucking moron? Fucking airhead.
Did anybody
who just takes these notes and asks these questions? She doesn't think about a thing that she says. I guarantee you. She has not a brain in her head that she uses. She does not use her brain. She just spits out the most absurd fucking nonsense. How the fuck can you impugn Donald Trump for speaking favorably of strongmen authoritarians as your president, who you and your network do propaganda for, has been seen multiple times, literally with his arms wrapped around the mass murderer of our time, Benjamin Netanyahu? This is the brain rot that sets in when you consume this media, because that is just baked into your understanding of the world. Like, it would never occur to you to think, well, what do you mean?
Right.
Why is he speaking highly of authoritarians? We support Benjamin Netanyahu. Like, viewers of this do not think that way. That never crosses their mind.
Well, and it's also, it really shows you how much the interests of the military-industrial complex, as expressed through their corporate owners and parents and the common investors between these networks and the arms companies. BlackRock, Vanguard, 90% of companies in the S&P have common owners. So if you've got BlackRock has an investment, and what BlackRock probably has an investment. So there's one big overarching oligarchy really controlling all the messaging, all the foreign policy efforts, all the donations to political candidates. There really is a cabal running the West. There really is. And BRICS, as we'll cover later, is trying to arise to counter that cabal. But when Reagan went to have détente with Gorbachev, nobody called him a traitor.
Right.
Nobody said, "Oh, he's speaking well of the enemy." They said, "Oh, wow, this is so statesmanlike. This is so great. He's getting us past the Cold War." But that's not in the interests of the military-industrial complex. And now they have completely taken over these so-called news agencies, so that now this is the narrative. Trying to make peace is traitorous. It's not diplomacy. It's not statesmanship. It's treason.
Exactly. All right. So now we're going to get his response.
It's not okay. Well, it's not, but it's not praise either, which is what you said it was, which it wasn't. But according to the Jeffrey Goldberg article, which we've talked about this entire night, you can't trust that article because the quote 60,000 for an effing Mexican funeral. The only two on-record sources both said that he didn't say that. The only source is an anonymous source, and the family of the deceased soldier said that he was lovely to them, and in fact, they voted for Donald Trump today. That's how much they disagreed, and they said it was a disrespectful article that politicized the death of their loved one. And Jeffrey Goldberg did not care about printing something that they had no sources on the record for. And I honest to God, like most Americans, do not care about General Kelly's farewell tour where he tries to make amends for working for Donald Trump, since Democrats said we're going to run all these Republicans who work for Trump out of town unless they somehow make peace. So 2 weeks before Election Day, he runs to liberal journalist Susan Glasser about a conversation that allegedly happened 4 years ago. It doesn't pass a smell test. And that is why people are turned off to all of these stories. They remember Donald Trump's presidency for low inflation, jobs, peace through strength, controlled borders. That's why they care. No one believes Jeffrey Goldberg and the article from a publication that's owned by one of Harris's donors.
I mean, no lies detected there.
Nailed it.
In terms of the picking apart of the article. The article, as we covered in the previous segment, contradicts itself multiple times. There's multiple caveats in the article that on-the-record sources deny that this was ever said. He doesn't care. Jeffrey Goldberg knows when he prints that in the Atlantic, networks like CNN will cherry-pick the parts out of it that are most damning about Donald Trump. They'll bury everything else, and they will get a nice 48-hour, 2 days of hate, panic over it, and drive ratings.
A lot of clicks.
That's really what it's about. It's just Trump derangement syndrome. It's
Why is he talking about Arnold Palmer's penis?
That's it. That's it. It's that kind of story that they're trying to inflate into something else because the word Hitler is in the article. That's what makes it worthy of a press conference.
Please clap.